The movie starts with Jean pointing a gun at her husband Fred.
She looks shocked and asks him how he could do this and how he could hide it from her all this time. Fred tries to calm her down and says he was going to tell her, but then, boom, a shot goes off by accident. 7 days earlier, Jean is talking to her friend Connie. She tells her that she and Fred are going to a place called Tretria to celebrate their 7th wedding anniversary. She hangs up when Fred arrives. Jean asks him if they can go to Tretria. Turns out, Fred planned a surprise for her there. A young woman is watching them from her car. From their conversation, we learn they've had trouble having a baby. Jean keeps miscarrying, and she's scared Fred isn't happy with her because of it. But Fred reassures her they won't give up, and he believes it'll happen when the time is right. The girl watching them takes advantage of the fact that no one's home and breaks into their house. But Jean and Fred come back, and when the girl sees them through the window, she tries to escape through the balcony before they spot her. The next day, Fred tells Jean he'll be late at work because he's covering a shift for his coworker Kitty. After he leaves, Jean goes out to buy coffee, and by chance, she sees Fred outside the cafe. He's with that same girl, holding her arm and yelling at her, making her walk away. Jean calls him, but he doesn't answer, so she decides to follow him. He ends up sitting in a park looking at a photo of a cop and a child. Jean calls again, asking what he's doing. He lies and says he's at work, then tells her a customer just walked into the store, so he has to go. Jean doesn't understand why he's lying, but she leaves to meet Connie. When Jean meets Connie, she tells her she saw Fred with another woman. Connie thinks maybe they just ran into each other by chance, but Jean is convinced Fred and Kitty are having an affair. Connie tells her to confront him and ask who that woman was. Jean says Fred was burning a paper or photo in his hand. Weird, because she hasn't seen him use a lighter in 8 years. Jean goes to Fred's photo shop and sneaks into the storage room looking for him. She finds his phone open and starts going through it, but Fred walks in. She asks who the woman was and tells him she suspects him. Fred gets nervous and says she was a crazy customer. He explains she bought a bouquet from him and he picked it out, but then she said it wasn't right for her. Jean confronts him. She was out on the street when he said he was at work. Fred says he just needed some time alone to clear his head, but Jean doesn't believe him. Fred insists he loves her, tries to make her happy, and apologizes for lying. Then he gets called for work, so she leaves. That night, while Fred's asleep, Jean searches his clothes and finds a lighter with a military symbol and some letters on it. She hides it. In the morning, Fred wakes up and can't find his lighter. He sees Jean looks tired and still upset. They make up. He wants to ask about the lighter, but changes his mind. Jean tells him he talked in his sleep again, this time in a strange language, kind of like Spanish. Fred says it's the only second language he knows. Fred goes to work. Jean is a real estate agent showing a house to a couple. Meanwhile, Fred is back in the park. A man named Arthur finds him. He says it was hard to get here because he couldn't miss his meetings. Arthur looks upset and drunk. He tells Fred he regrets meeting him and says his wife left him and moved in with her mom. He asks why Fred wanted to meet. Fred gives him a flash drive and says that woman is 100% real. Arthur says Fred's drunk and not acting like himself. He gets angry, threatens to go tell everything to the FBI. Fred says he knows Arthur won't because he's involved too. They fight. Arthur says Fred's ruining his life and won't let him destroy it more.
Jean discovers someone broke in. She calls Fred, tells him someone broke into their house, and says she'll call 911. But Fred tells her not to call and to just go outside and wait for him. Jean's surprised he doesn't want her to call the police. She asks if it's connected to that crazy customer he mentioned. Fred doesn't answer. He's firm. She has to leave the house. As soon as Fred arrives, while he's handing Jean the keys, Arthur crashes into him with his car, knocks him down, and drives off. Jean takes Fred to the hospital. Connie comes to see them. Jean thinks the accident was random. She doesn't know it was on purpose. She tells Connie she saw the driver's face and that someone broke into their house. The doctor tells Jean that Fred has 2 injuries and a brain concussion. There's brain swelling, so he's in a coma. He'll wake up once the swelling goes down, probably in about 2 days. Jean calls Fred's mom, Barb, to tell her about Fred's condition, but her phone is off, so she texts her. Connie leaves, and Jean stays with Fred. The next day, Detective Brent comes to investigate the accident. Jean tells him what happened, but Brent seems suspicious, like he's not buying it was just an accident. He asks if she saw the driver. Jean says if she saw him, she'd know. She describes the man to him. When Jean gets back to Fred's room, she sees that customer woman leaving his room. As soon as the woman sees Jean, she runs into the elevator and escapes. Later, Barb arrives. Jean goes to check on Fred. She asks the nurse who visited him. The nurse says says the woman didn't give her name. Jean gives her her number in case she comes back. Then she leaves Barb with Fred and goes home. Soon after, Jean hears someone in the storage room. She goes down to check, scared at first, but it's Barb. She says the doctors told her to go home, so she came to look for family photos. She also found the lock broken. Then they go inside. Jean goes to prepare dinner, but there's no food. By chance, Connie shows up with food for both of them. Barb doesn't live in the same city, but she says she was nearby visiting a friend in Washington. Connie keeps asking Barb a lot of questions about her life. When she asks if she lives alone, Barb gets annoyed, says she's too nosy, and tells her her husband died 7 years ago. She's been alone since. That was before Fred married Jean. After Barb goes to sleep, Jean tells Connie she finds Barb strange. She's only met her twice, and Fred said all his mom's friends are in Portland, so she doesn't believe Barb was just visiting a friend nearby. She's also suspicious about her going into the storage room. Later, Jean tells Connie she's pregnant. She's shocked, but hides it. Jean says she thought Connie would be happy. Connie congratulates her and says she's truly happy, but Jean is now convinced Fred is cheating. Connie assures her Fred would never do that. When Jean goes to check on Barb, she's not there. Then she finds her in the storage room, and Barb opens a safe Jean didn't even know existed. The next day, Jean finds Barb at home. She goes to withdraw money, but her card is blocked. She calls the bank. They tell her Fred blocked it. Jean's upset and doesn't believe he'd do that. She has to go get cash from Fred's shop, and there she discovers a basement. She goes down and is shocked to find a desk, lots of papers, and even a gun. She finds a file with Arthur's photo and takes it. Then she goes to the hospital. Barb is there. The doctor says Fred is getting better and could wake up any time. Barb asks Jean why she's looking at her like an enemy. Jean tells her she saw her in the storage room and asks where she got the safe. Barb says it's none of her business. If Fred wanted her to know, he'd tell her. Jean gets angry, raises her voice, and asks how she even knew the safe was there. Barb gets up to leave. Jean stops her, threatens to call the police. Barb says she can't. She doesn't even know what's going on around her. If she tells the cops anything, she'll ruin her own life. She calls Jean stupid and walks out.
Later, Detective Brent visits Jean. He shows her a photo of Arthur from security cameras, asks if she knows him or if he's one of Fred's friends. Jean gets nervous and says she doesn't know him. Brent suspects she's hiding something. Jean tells him she thinks Fred is cheating, and when she asked, Fred said the woman was just a customer. Brent seems to think she might be involved with Arthur. Jean later finds Arthur's name in the file, calls directory assistants to reach him, learns he's not accepting calls, so she knows he's still in town. She takes Fred's lighter and goes to an antique shop to ask about it. The guy there says it's Soviet-made from the secret police, meaning KGB. So whoever has this lighter is a secret agent. Jean goes to Arthur's place. At first, he won't open the door. Jean threatens to call the police, so he lets her in. He doesn't know she's Fred's wife. When she asks why he tried to kill Fred, he laughs and asks if she even knows who Fred really is. Jean says she found his address in his file, came to find the truth. Arthur gets angry and says she should ask why a flower seller has a file on him. He tells her Fred was blackmailing him, making him hack accounts and steal private files of political people. Now, Fred is destroying his life. One day, he'll be exposed for all his crimes, and when he kills himself, it'll be justice. Arthur breaks down, starts crying. He says before meeting Fred, he had a family. Now, Fred has ruined everything. He slams the door in her face. Jean doesn't understand any of this. Meanwhile, Barb is with the woman Fred called a customer. Her name is Anna. Anna tells Barb they want her to kill Fred today. She gets the gun ready. Barb offers to help, but Anna says she can handle it alone. Anna goes to the hospital. The nurse sees her and runs to warn Jean. Jean is at Fred's shop office. When she hears Anna's at the hospital, she grabs the gun from the drawer and rushes there. She follows Anna, sees her driving, and follows her to Arthur's house. Jean goes in and hears Anna killing Arthur. When Anna sees Jean, she drops the gun and says she's always wanted to meet her. Jean asks how she knows Fred. Anna says they grew up together and shows her a birthmark on Fred's right shoulder as proof. Then suddenly, Anna grabs Jean's gun, points it at her, and asks what she saw. Jean says she saw her kill Arthur, but Anna keeps threatening her. Jean says she didn't see anything. Anna asks what she'll tell Fred. Jean says she's pregnant with Fred's baby to distract her. Then she grabs the statue and hits Anna on the head, knocks her out, and runs. She goes straight to Detective Brent and tells him the woman she thought was Fred's lover killed Arthur. She says there's something between Fred and Arthur she doesn't get. She gives Brent Fred's lighter. Brent says the FBI contacted him today and told him to drop the case. It's their investigation now. He tells her to wait. He'll talk to them and figure out how to protect her. But then Jean gets a call from the hospital. Fred has woken up. She rushes there. She tells Fred that Arthur hit him with the car and that she found out when she went to his office at the shop. Fred panics and asks who visited him at the hospital. Jean says it was Barb and that she confronted her about breaking into the storage room. She asks what's in the safe. Then Fred asks if the woman he saw with him at the cafe came to the hospital, meaning Anna. Jean says yes, she came and she hit her, maybe even killed her. Fred jumps up, looks out the window, sees Anna leaving the hospital. He says they have to run fast.
Jean keeps asking questions. Why did he ruin Arthur's life? Why is his mom acting so strange? Why was Arthur killed? What's with the lighter? Fred says the lighter belonged to his father. Suddenly, Anna is coming for them. They hide in a medicine room. Jean asks if his dad was Russian. He says yes, but Barb isn't really his mom. Then he tells her she's pregnant, and Fred is overjoyed. He takes her and runs. Anna keeps searching for them, but they escape. Fred and Jean return home. He takes a phone from the safe in the storage room and gives it to Jean. He says if they ever get separated, she should call this number. But Jean is confused. The safe is full of cash. She knows his job doesn't make that much. She tells him he has to tell her everything or she'll call the police. Just then, Barb walks in with a gun. Fred and Barb start talking in Russian. Jean doesn't understand. Barb tells Fred they have to leave and he shouldn't tell Jean any details. Jean is shocked. She starts crying. Fred calms her, says everything will be okay. Barb gives Jean a drink, but it knocks her out. Barb tells Fred to leave Jean and come with her. The next morning, Jean wakes up in a house she doesn't know, but feels safe when she sees Connie with her. Connie tells her the truth. She's an FBI agent. They've been working on a case. She got close to Jean since her marriage to Fred, but she's also been a real friend. That's why, when she felt Jean was in danger, she went to protect her and brought her here. Meanwhile, Fred tells Barb they're not going back to Moscow. He refuses to leave. He's an American now, has a family. He says 15 years in America means he doesn't need Moscow anymore. Barb says if they go back, they'll be treated as heroes. Jean gets upset with Connie when she finds out she's been taking photos and writing reports about her and Fred. Agent Doug is with Connie. Jean asks what Fred did to cause all this. Connie shows her a military photo. This is Sergei Volkov. 20 years ago, he was number 2 in the KGB. He's Fred's real father. Fred's real name is Sasha Vilkov. Doug tells Jean there was a Cold War. Sergei had a plan to have secret agents leak American city secrets to Russia. When Sergei died, the network passed to Fred. Now, the Russians want to find him. Jean decides to help. Connie asks her to call Fred on the phone he gave her. Fred is on the phone with Barb. He says he'll run forever with his family. It's better than going back to Moscow. Then Anna shows up, points a gun at Barb, and says the new president wants them back. Fred says Barb has always protected him and asks her to protect him one last time and let him go to his wife. But Anna raises the gun and threatens to kill him if he moves. Fred isn't scared. He walks, then goes to Jean. She's angry. He put her in danger and lied the whole time. She points the gun at him, ready to shoot. Fred says he didn't tell her because he was protecting her. He promises everything will be fixed. He'll turn himself in to the FBI and hand over the list he has. Just then, Barb walks in with a gun. Fred and Barb start talking in Russian. Jean doesn't understand. Jean calls Fred a traitor, shoots him, but doesn't kill him. Anna enters, aiming to kill Jean. But the police arrive and everyone drops their weapons. Later, Connie helps Jean pack her things so she can travel, start fresh somewhere new, and forget everything she's been through. Connie thanks her for shooting Fred. Jean says he deserved it after everything. Then Connie goes to Fred in the interrogation room. They agree. He'll give them all the info they want in exchange for new identities for him and Jean. He asks why she helped save them from the Russians. She says they decided to let the Russians think he's dead so he and Jean can be safe, and because her friend Jean didn't deserve any of this. She hopes Jean can forgive them. As he leaves, he goes to Jean. They agree it's time to start a new chapter.